Now, I want to talk to you about something that isn't almost ever named, and yet so many of you will recognize it the moment I start describing it. Have you ever experienced what I call the roller coaster? You begin a new protocol, things improve, then they don't. You go up and then you go back down. Or you take something that should logically help and you have an unexpected, almost opposite reaction of what you're supposed to. Maybe you diet and exercise and you gain weight, or you rest and you still feel depleted, or you improve for a while and then you lose the ground you gained. That pattern has a name, and it's not a sign that you're broken. It's called switching.
Welcome to the Resiliency Method, the truth about healing. I'm Dr. Erika, and we are here to uncover the root causes keeping you stuck. Together, we'll restore your energy, your focus, and your resiliency so you can finally heal, regenerate, and feel truly alive again.
You breathe without thinking about it. Your heart beats right now and has been beating without a single conscious instruction from you in every moment of your life. Your body knows how to do extraordinary things. That has always been true. And yet, somewhere along the way, something began to feel like it wasn't working. Symptoms that come and go without explanation. A level of fatigue that rest doesn't seem to touch. And treatments that almost work. And progress that simply doesn't hold. You've done everything right, and you still are here looking for the piece that keeps being missed. Just as surely as the night follows the day, that piece exists. And today, you are going to find it. But before we go any further, I want to offer you a question. A better question that I almost never hear and ambitious women really ask themselves. And that is, and I want you to sit with this for the entire podcast, am I functioning in spite of my health or because of it? Hold that question loosely and let it travel with you. Something in you already knows the answer. Welcome to the Resiliency Method, the Truth About Healing podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Erika, and this show exists for one reason: to give the most intelligent, driven, and highest performing women I know access to the level of understanding about their health that actually creates change. Not to feel better for a while, actual change, the kind that holds. And today is one of the most important conversations I will have with you, because we are going to talk about the master regulator of your entire healing capacity. Not a supplement, not a protocol, not a biohack, not any of those things, but one thing in particular, and it's a nerve. And it's the most extraordinary nerve in the human body. And by the time this episode ends, you won't just understand your body differently, but you will also feel differently. Because I'm not only going to educate you today, I'm going to guide you into states where your physiology actually begins to shift as we speak. So wherever you are, let your shoulders just drop down slightly. Take one breath in through your nose and let it go. Good. Now notice that even the single breath began something. Your nervous system is already listening. It always has been. I want to start with a shift in how we frame the question. So the best natural medicine practitioners ask, what is wrong with this organ, this tissue or gland? And that's not a bad question, but it's an incomplete one. And because it skips the more fundamental question, the one that changes everything when you finally ask it. Instead of asking, what is wrong with you? What if the better question is, what is preventing my nervous system from doing what it was designed to do? Those two questions lead to completely different answers and completely different outcomes. The brainstem, your evolutionary master controller, tucked between your cerebrum, so right back here, the base of your brain, and your spinal cord, is a structure about 3 inches long that controls virtually every automatic function keeping you alive, like breathing, heart rate, your blood pressure, your sleep, your stress response. your immune regulation, your hormone balance, your digestion. It's called the brainstem, and it's something sometimes referred to as the reptilian brain because evolutionary, it's the oldest part of the nervous system. And that part is actually formed first when you're in utero. That part, in a very real sense, actually always holds everything together, too. And here's what makes this personally relevant to you as a high performer. The brainstem is exquisitely sensitive to two things above almost all others: chronic stress, the kind that accumulates silently in women who operate at the level that you do, and toxic burden, heavy metals, chronic infections, and environmental exposures that accumulate over a lifetime. And something in you already knows this, doesn't it? You have noticed on some level the relationship between how hard you push and how your body responds. Now, you have always known it. And today we're simply giving it language. Section title: The Vagus Nerve, the Body's Master Healer. The brainstem also houses the origin of the most remarkable nerve in the human body. Its name comes from the Latin word for wandering, and wander it does. This nerve travels down from your brainstem and through your neck, right back here, branching out to your heart, your lungs, your digestive tract, your liver, your spleen, your kidneys, and your reproductive organs. And it's the longest nerve in your autonomic nervous system. And it controls approximately 75% of your parasympathetic nervous system, which sometimes we call that the brake pedal of the nervous system, whereas the sympathetic would be the gas pedal of the nervous system. So that basically means your brake pedal would say your rest, your digest, and your healing state. So think of the vagus nerve as the master conductor of your body's healing orchestra. And when it's functioning well, that's what we call good vagal tone, or we say vagal tone is very high, then every section of that orchestra plays in harmony. And your immune system, it regulates well, and your inflammatory response resolves, and your gut functions and your sleep restores, and your body can shift from stress to safety with ease. And you can stop being called, a type A personality, if you will. When vagus tone is low, or vagal tone, we should say, every instrument starts to play its own tune. So gut issues, heart palpitations, brain fog, hormone imbalances, fatigue, anxiety, autoimmunity, multiple symptoms that mystify multiple specialists, because each specialist is only looking at the one instrument and has never been trained to listen for the conductor. And you already sense that's why your symptoms have felt connected, because they are, and they have always been connected through this one nerve. So let's talk about heart rate variability. So this section title: Heart Rate Variability, Measuring Your Healing Capacity. Now, we can measure vagal tone. We measure it through heart rate variability, the natural variation in time between heartbeats. And a common misconception is that a healthy heart should beat like a metronome. Well, the truth is actually the opposite. A heart with high vagal tone speeds up slightly on the inhale and slows down on the exhale. And that flexibility is key. It's the signal of a nervous system that can shift between states, and that's key. So high HRV equals high healing capacity. Low HRV means your body's locked in survival mode, and it's really unable to access the parasympathetic state it needs to repair very easily. And before you reach for your next supplement or your next protocol or your next specialist appointment, it is worth pausing to ask yourself this: is my vagus nerve healthy enough to carry the benefits of whatever I'm about to try? Because you can do everything right. And if the signal cannot reach the cell, well, the cell cannot respond. The conductor must be present for the orchestra to play. Guided experience 1, the healing capacity. Now, I'd like to invite you into an experience now. If you're able to, let your eyes close. Please do that. And if you're driving or you need your eyes open, just simply soften your gaze and widen your peripheral vision. And that single shift already begins to move you and your nervous system towards safety. Now take a deep breath in through your nose and let it go through your mouth. And just as the breath always comes, just as the body always knows what to do when you stop interrupting it, relaxation follows naturally now. Now, with each breath, you can allow your body to settle just a little bit more. Breathe in for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out for 7. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Now notice how even that extended exhale changed something. That was your vagus nerve receiving a signal, and that was your nervous system beginning to shift gears. Not because you forced it, but because you gave it permission. Now, as you continue to breathe in that easy rhythm, 5 in, 7 out, I'd like to invite you and your imagination into a space. Now imagine yourself in a room, a beautiful, warm, quiet room. There's soft light here. There is nothing that requires your attention. And in the center of this room, you notice a panel. It's a control panel. It's elegant and precise. And on this panel, there is a single slider. This slider is labeled healing capacity. It represents your vagus nerve's ability to regulate, repair, and restore. It represents the degree to which your body can access the rest, the digest, and the heal state right now. Now look at where that slider is currently set and notice the number. Don't judge it, just simply observe it, the way a curious, compassionate doctor might observe a lab result. This is information, and that's all. And just as a skilled hand on a dial can change whatever it receives, you can with each breath, with each practice, with each root cause you address, begin to move this slider. Now, I'd like you to place your hand on the slider now and feel the cool surface beneath your fingertips. And very slowly, as I count from 5 to 1, you're going to begin to slide it upward. 5, and you begin to move it. Feel a warmth spreading through your body and your chest as you do. 4, a little higher, your shoulders soften further. 3, the warmth moves through your belly, through your gut, your digestion eases. 2, it moves through your limbs, a pleasant heaviness, a deep settling. And 1, the slider reaches a new setting. It's higher than where you found it, and hold it there. Now feel what it feels like when your healing capacity is higher, when the conductor is on the podium, when the signal is flowing. This is not imagination. This is your nervous system practicing what it already knows how to do. Section title, Installing Your Healing Anchor. Now in this state, at this level of ease and inner warmth, I'm going to invite you to do something simple. Bring your thumb and your index finger together. Press them gently together, and as you do, allow this feeling, this settled, connected healing state to travel through that touch. This is your anchor. Every time you bring these two fingers together with intention, you'll begin to assess and access this state more quickly. Your nervous system will remember, not because I told it to, but because you are installing it right now at the level of the body where memory lives. So take 3 more of those easy breaths, fingers together, feeling the warmth feeling the settled, clear, healing state. Good. Now you can release your fingers and return to your breath and its natural rhythm. Bring yourself gently back to the room, into the space. Open your eyes whenever you are ready. Now, I want to talk to you about something that isn't almost ever named. And yet, so many of you will recognize it the moment I start describing it. Have you ever experienced what I call the roller coaster? You begin a new protocol, things improve, then they don't. You go up and then you go back down. Or you take something that should logically help and you have an unexpected, almost opposite reaction of what you're supposed to. Maybe you diet and exercise and you gain weight, or you rest and you still feel depleted, or you improve for a while and then you lose the ground you gained. That pattern has a name and it's not a sign that you're broken. It's called switching. All right, so this is actually a section title, Switching, the Nervous System's Unstable Signal. All right, resuming the conversation. So switching occurs when the nervous system, under sufficient stress, loses its capacity for smooth, coherent regulation. And rather than flowing in one direction, it toggles on and off, up and down, like a light switch flickering. And the result is exactly what you have experienced. Symptoms that fluctuate, treatments that produce inconsistent results, Herxheimer reactions, really a body that cannot seem to hold on to improvement. And this is not a mystery. It's actually a signal. It's your nervous system saying, hey, there's a stressor here that's preventing me from stabilizing well. So we need to find it. And when you remove it, I'll hold the gains. And I will do my job that I have always known how to do. Blocking is what happens when the nervous system is so burdened that it becomes prevented from regulating specific organs at all. Now, think of it like this. How well can a bicycle wheel turn if there is a stick jammed in the spokes? The wheel is not broken. The mechanism is not damaged. There is simply an impediment. And until that impediment is removed, no amount of pushing the pedals will actually produce smooth forward motion. Now, in a state of blocking, you may find that nothing changes despite doing everything right. New symptoms appear without explanation. You feel persistently weak in a way that doesn't respond to rest. You don't really respond to the healing protocol or the supplements that you've been given as a part of a way to help you. So the barriers that are causing this are things conventional medicine almost never tests for. And that's important to know. And that includes things like heavy metal burden, food and chemical sensitivities, chronic infections, reactivated scars, and more. So before you add another intervention, another specialist, another supplement to your already full protocol, the question worth pausing to ask is really this: is my body actually able to respond to what I'm offering it right now? Or is it something blocking the signal? Section titled The Polyvagal Reality 3 Gears. Now, neuroscientist Stephen Porges described 3 distinct states the nervous system operates in. The first is called ventral vagal, and this is the gear of safety, social connection, and healing. And this is where digestion functions well, sleep is restorative, the immune system is responding correctly, and creativity flows. This is the gear we are always working to get to and trying to restore. Now, the second is a sympathetic activation, the fight or flight response. And that's essential when you're, in face of danger, something immediate. It's devastating as a default state, though. So, which for many high-performing women, it has become that sympathetic state. And the third is the oldest and the most primitive, which is called the dorsal vagal shutdown, freeze, profound fatigue, disassociation, the body's last resort when the sympathetic response has been running, or if they think of it as the gas pedal has been stuck in, it's in place and you cannot get the brake to come on at all. And that's a point where the body can really no longer sustain itself. So women who have pushed through chronic illness for years are often highly functional on the outside, but they're frequently finding themselves here without actually recognizing it. And here's the question that I find that cuts the deepest when I ask it of high-performing women, because it really requires a particular kind of courage to answer it honestly. Am I functioning in spite of my health, or because of it. Now, there is no judgment in that question. There is only an invitation to really tell the truth so that we can build something real. Now, I'd like to guide you through something that requires a little more of you than the last experience. Not effort, but really openness. So let's get your eyes closed if you're able. Bring your thumb and your index back to that familiar position again. Feel that state where we installed earlier returning. That warmth, that settled feeling, that connected quality. Good. You're already back in it. And your nervous system remembered exactly where to go. Now, I'd like you to hold both of your hands out in front of you, so palms are facing upward. 2 open hands, 2 open palms. And on your dominant hand, imagine placing a version of you that you know very well. The high performer. The woman who shows up, who delivers, who pushes through, who has used ambition and willpower and extraordinary mental strength to keep going, even when her body was sending signals that she did not have time to hear. Now look at her in your palm and really see her. She's remarkable, and she has gotten you here. Thank her. Also ask her, what is your positive intent? What do you want for this woman, for me? And listen to what arises. Perhaps it's, I want you to succeed. I want you to be needed. I want you to be safe through achievement. Whatever she says, just receive it with respect. She has been doing her best. Now, on your other hand, place a different version of you. The woman your body has been trying to call forward. The one who knows that pushing through is no longer the same as moving forward. The one whose nervous system has been quietly requesting something different, and probably for a while now. Ask her, what is your positive intent? What do you want for this woman? And listen. Perhaps she says, I want you to be genuinely well. I want your energy to be real, not contrived or faked. I want healing that holds. And whatever she says, just receive that. And now notice, as you look at both of your hands, that these 2 women want exactly the same thing for you. They both want you to thrive. They have simply been operating from different beliefs about how. Slowly begin to bring your hands toward each other. At the midpoint, imagine a new, integrated version of you forming. A woman who has the drive and the determination of the high performer, and the wisdom and the self-trust of the woman who has learned to heal. A woman who performs because she is genuinely well, not in spite of not being well. Let your hands come all the way together. Hold them there, and then bring them slowly into your chest, taking that integrated image inside of you. This integration already happened somewhere deeper than you thought. Your unconscious mind understands something now that your conscious mind is just catching up with. You do not have to choose between being extraordinary and being well. That was always a false choice. Now take another deep breath and release your hands. Come back to the room. Are you tired of treatments, protocols, and gurus who promise results but don't deliver? You're not alone. For years, I struggled with my own long-term illness, and I know how frustrating it feels when nothing seems to work. That's why I developed the Resiliency Method. It's a science-backed approach to combining the best of Western and ancient medicines to restore your body's natural intelligence. Patient after patient has discovered what's possible, living stronger, brighter, and more spiritually connected than ever before. Whether you're facing autoimmune issues, hormonal imbalances, weight struggles, or just feeling stuck, you don't need another quick fix. You need a clear path forward. Take the first step with a discovery call at drerikaonline.com/discovery. That's DRERIKA online.com/discovery. Or dive deeper with a full initial consultation at drerikaonline.com/initial-consultation, because your health, your clarity, and your freedom cannot wait. Perfect. In 2013, researchers published a landmark paper in the journal called Cell, identifying 9 fundamental mechanisms driving the aging process across the species. All species, I should say. And in 2023, that framework was expanded to 12. And these are called the hallmarks of aging. And they represent the actual biological processes determining whether you experience vibrant health into your 90s or even into your 100s, or chronic disease and disability decades before you should. Now, here's what the research is only beginning to say loudly enough. Nearly every single one of these 12 hallmarks is directly influenced by vagal tone. Yes, that's correct. Your nervous system does not just affect how you feel day to day. It literally determines how fast you age at the cellular level. So let me take you through them and the vagus nerve connection to each. Now, your DNA is under constant attack from oxidative stress, toxins, and inflammatory compounds. Healthy vagal tone protects your DNA through the cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathway. It's a fancy way of saying a pathway that keeps inflammation in check. And when the vagus nerve is activated, it releases something called acetylcholine, which is just a fancy word for a chemical inside your body which directly suppresses the pro-inflammatory. So it kind of acts as like a deterrent in your body to manage inflammation or to manage the inflammation process. And that ultimately damages your DNA. So when vagal tone is low, that protection actually disappears. And the piece most doctors never mention is that heavy metals, particularly mercury and aluminum, will accumulate in nervous tissue, including the vagus nerve itself. And they generate the oxidative stress that damages DNA while simultaneously impairing the vagal function needed to repair it. Now, telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes, like the plastic tips on shoelaces, if you will. Every cell division shortens them. So every time a cell has to divide, the telomeres can get more damage. So telomere length is one of the most reliable biomarkers of biological age. Multiple studies have now found direct correlation between heart rate variability and the telomere length. So the higher your HRV, the longer your telomeres, and the lower your HRV, you are biologically older than your actual calendar says. The inflammatory cytokines that the vagus nerve regulates, keeping them in check, they're called TNF alpha and IL-6, if you want to get geeky, are directly accelerate telomere shortening. And chronic infections compound this dramatically. Things like parasites, reactivated viral infections, chronic bacterial burden. These organisms trigger continuous immune activation in battles that burn through the cellular divisions, shortening telomeres with every engagement, while releasing neurotoxins that further suppress the vagal function. So you need to mount a coordinated response, which brings us to the question that most anti-aging conversations are missing entirely. Not how do I slow aging? What do I eat? Things like that, but actually something far more specific. What is accelerating my aging right now? And does my nervous system have the capacity to repair that on its own? Third one is epigenetic alterations through cellular senescence, hallmarks 3 through 8. Now, your genes don't operate in isolation. They are constantly switched on and off through epigenetic modifications. So when vagal tone is low and you are in a chronic stress state, then your body activates pro-inflammatory, pro-aging gene programs and suppresses repair and longevity programs. So your nervous system state is literally being written into your biology every day. Stealth pathogens understand this at a survival level. So things like viruses like Epstein-Barr hijacked your cellular machinery to favor their own replication. Mold toxins, they alter epigenetic patterns to promote chronic inflammation. Parasites, they epigenetically reprogram your immune cells to actually tolerate their presence. So your biology is actually being rewritten by some of these things, by organisms that our conventional medicine is rarely testing for. So let's talk about autophagy. So now autophagy, which is your cell's self-cleaning mechanism, is activated primarily during rest, fasting. You've probably heard of autophagy through fasting, and actually having parasympathetic dominance. So exactly the states that require healthy vagal function to actually be accessed. So when you're chronically sympathetically activated, then autophagy gets suppressed and your cellular garbage accumulates. And here's the cruel irony. You actually need autophagy most when you're dealing with things like heavy metal burden and chronic infections. And that is precisely when it's most impaired. So mercury inhibits, for example, the lysosomal machinery autophagy depends on. And pathogens, well, they've evolved strategies to block it because autophagy is one of your cell's primary defenses against them. So you can be doing everything the longevity world recommends, the fasting, the supplements, the cold exposure, and your cells still cannot clean the house in your nervous system, cannot access the parasympathetic state that really activates the process. And the state you were just practicing, essentially. If there's one hallmark that threads through all the others, it's chronic inflammation. What researchers now call inflammaging. And the vagus nerve, through the cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathway, is your body's primary brake on that fire. So a high HRV equals low inflammation. So lower HRV is going to equal higher inflammatory states. And that correlation is that direct. And your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria, fungi, and other organisms living in your intestines, is monitored almost entirely through the vagus nerve. 80 to 90% of vagal fibers are afferent, meaning they carry information from the gut to the brain. And when vagal tone is poor, the communication breaks down. The gut cannot receive proper regulatory signal. And then dysbiosis or leaky gut worsens and deepens. Systemic inflammation also rises, and the cycle becomes self-reinforcing. Now, you can take the best probiotics in the world, and if your vagus nerve is not coordinating the gut environment, if the communication cable is damaged by mercury or other heavy metals or is overwhelmed by pathogen load, the garden cannot truly recover. And if you've tried many things and you keep ending up back where you started, well, the question is have you ever really asked, is my body able to actually respond to what I'm offering it? Or is something blocking the signal? So now I'd like to take you somewhere now. Bring your thumb and your index finger back together. Feel that state that you installed earlier. That warmth, that subtle, clear quality. It comes back more quickly every time, doesn't it? Now let your eyes close. Breathe in for 5, out for 7. Do that one more time. Inhale for 5. Exhale for 7. And just as leaves drift naturally to the ground in autumn, inevitable and unhurried, You can allow yourself to drift now into this experience. Not forcing, not trying, simply allowing what your body already knows how to do. I want you to imagine a garden, a real garden with rich, dark soil and everything that a healthy garden requires: sunlight, water, warmth, and the quiet intelligence of a healthy ecosystem that's doing its work beneath the surface. Now, this garden is your nervous system. The soil is your gut, the microbiome that feeds and sustains it, and everything above it. And the roots moving through that soil are your vagus nerve, reaching everywhere, communicating with everything, and ensuring the entire garden receives what it needs. In a healthy garden, the roots are strong, the soil is rich, and what you plant grows. Now, I want you to honestly observe this garden as it is right now. Perhaps the soil has been depleted by seasons of high output and little restoration. Perhaps there are unwanted growths, pathogens, heavy residues that are competing with what you are trying to cultivate. Perhaps the roots are thinner than they should be, carrying a compromised signal. And this is not a judgment, it's just simply a gardener's honest assessment. Because only a gardener who sees clearly what is actually in the soil can make the changes that allow the garden to flourish. And you, just by being here, just by asking better questions, have already begun the work of tending this garden. Something is already shifting in the soil. Now, I'd like to take you along your timeline. Imagine floating gently upward, rising above where you are now, so that you can see your life stretching out before you, like a path that goes through a landscape. Behind you is your past, and ahead of you, your future. Float forward 3 months. Look down at yourself 3 months from now. You have begun this work. You've asked the better questions. You have started to address the root causes, the burdens, the barriers, the switching and the blocking. And what do you notice? What is different? Now float forward to 6 months. 6 months of working with your nervous system rather than against it. Feel the flow of that 6 months of the garden receiving better care. Look down, notice her. How is she moving through her day? And now float forward a full year. This is the version of you who has done the work, who has removed what was blocking the signal, who has restored balance in her vagus nerve, who no longer functions in spite of her health, but because of it. See her clearly. Notice the quality of her presence, the way she inhabits her body. There's an ease there. Not the performed ease of someone managing their symptoms, but the real thing. The calm, the peace, the ease of a woman whose nervous system is genuinely, authentically regulated. And now I'd like you to step into her, not observe her from the outside, but actually step into her body. Feel her posture, her breath, her felt sense of herself. You are now 20% her. Notice what shifts in your posture, in your breathing, in the quality of your awareness. You are now 40% her. Feel how she moves from the inside. 60%. Her nervous system is your nervous system right now. 80%. Notice what she knows that you, a year ago, we're still searching for. And now, fully her, completely for just this moment. Look out through her eyes. What does she know about her body that she didn't know before? What does she trust about her health that used to feel uncertain? And what is it she no longer afraid of? Take whatever insight arose and hold it gently, like something precious, and step back into yourself, bringing that knowing with you. Don't leave it behind. Actually carry it back through the timeline, all the way back to you now. And as you float back down your timeline, back to this moment, this breath, this room, notice that the distance between you, who you are now, and who she is actually feels smaller than it did before. Not because you imagined it, but because your nervous system just practiced it. And bring your thumb and your index finger together one more time. Feel the warmth, feel the clarity, and know your unconscious mind will bring you back to this state, to this knowing, anytime you touch those fingers together with intention. When you sit with a practitioner and you wonder whether this approach will address the root or the symptom, put your fingers together and you will know which questions to ask. When you're tempted to add another protocol before clearing what's blocking the one you already have, you put your fingers together and you will remember there is a right order, there is a right time, and there's a right amount. And you have installed something today that was already working. Your nervous system has been listening the entire time. So take a deep breath in and let it go. And open your eyes when you're ready. So after everything we have covered today, the brainstem, the vagus nerve, the switching and blocking, the things that interfere with the nervous system's ability to age well, looking at the hallmark of aging, the hidden burdens, there's still one more question that really ties it all together. And that's not what should I take next or what should I do next? It's what is preventing my nervous system from functioning as it was always designed to? And what would become possible if I remove those barriers? And that question is the foundation of the resiliency method. And it's what distinguishes this program from every other approach out there. Any approach that I've ever encountered in over 2 decades, especially of practice. Most healing programs begin with symptoms and they work backward toward a cause. The resiliency method begins with the nervous system itself, with a direct evaluation of how your autonomic regulation is functioning right now. Not just labs, not just a questionnaire, a comprehensive assessment of vagal tone, switching patterns, blocking states, and the specific barriers that are preventing your system from actually stabilizing. But it's also worth noting that this is not where the resiliency method ends either. Through the phased approach and working all 3 phases of the resiliency method, ultimately we're restoring the balance and the foundational status of the neural tissue itself, which changes everything. But from there, we want to address the root causes that most programs are not even looking for. Heavy metal burden, tested properly with methods that are sensitive and accurate enough to find what blood tests can miss, chronic infections, the parasites, the reactivated viruses, the bacterial overgrowth, the Lyme, the mold colonization, the systemic candida. Well, these are some of the most common drivers of things that we'll see, that need to be treated and are really truly at the root cause of a lot of these imbalances, right? And there also are the hidden drivers of why you're not responding and you're resistant, your illness is not over, you're not overcoming your illness, and especially as a high performing female. And simultaneously, we're going to work with the nervous system's own intelligence. It's already there. We're not going to force it into a state it cannot yet sustain. So we're going to meet your body where it's at, and we're going to progressively restore, building on one healing layer, progressive healing layer after another, ultimately to restore that vagal tone that allows everything to land in the right order, at the right time, and in the right amount. The resiliency method works at every level of this complexity: the physical, the neurological, the emotional, the simultaneously, all of them, because the nervous system does not separate them, and neither should we. But this is what it means to really heal comprehensively. So you've been looking for that piece that keeps being missed. And I'm telling you, this is it. Not because the nervous system is the only thing that matters, but it's really because it's the foundation beneath everything else. And if you get that right and you get everything else will work better, including your healing intervention. Every intervention is now going to land more fully, and every protocol or program that you get on actually will produce more of a lasting result. And the conductor returns to the podium, the orchestra, your whole extraordinary body, actually begins to play in harmony. Now, I want to close with something I say to every woman who comes to me after years of doing everything right and still not finding the answer. Your body is not your enemy. Your symptoms are not betrayals. Your nervous system is not broken. It is doing exactly what a perfectly designed system does when it has been given more to carry than it currently has the capacity to do and to regulate. And that roller coastering, that fatigue, the opposite reactions, the symptoms that make no logical sense, these are all not failures. They're actually a highly intelligent system asking precisely and persistently for something specific. And now you know what it's asking for. In the days ahead, when you're with a practitioner and when you're making a health decision, when you are tempted to add before you have cleared, I want you to notice something. Your fingers will come together gently, almost automatically, and a question will arise, the better question. That is not me speaking to you. That is your own nervous system, the one you have been tending to today, beginning to lead. And because just as the sun rises in the east, healing follows the restoration of the system designed to coordinate it. And you have already begun. You're not looking for the missing piece anymore. You have found it. And until next time, breathe deeply, exhale slowly, bring those fingers together whenever you need to remember. Take care of yourself.
Thanks for tuning into the Resiliency Method, the Truth About Healing podcast. If this episode spoke to you, follow, share, and leave us a review. Are you ready to go deeper? Book your discovery call now at drerikaonline.com/discovery and take your first step today.